Alright, so we got you here, Wes. It's kind of bothering me what was going on. See what you think of all this. I'm just going to start the video. I just want you to see it one time through and then I'll talk about it a little bit. Kind of break it down piece by piece as it goes. Really slow takeaway. No, I'm just kidding. It's at 1/8 speed. Don't worry about that. Alright. Comes in, nice one plane, and then you kind of fold the arms out, crosses across, and I think that's part of what gets that little move at the top that we've worked so hard at. Yeah, not our best finish there. Anyway, what I'm talking about is we're going to go, let me see if I can get a line here. Perfect. So the first one we like through the belt buckle there. And as we start the video here, I love where the club's traveling so far. But then, if you notice, the hands kind of stop. And it's almost like the wrist, what happens is the wrists start to push this way. Let me do that in a different color. The wrists start to move that way, away from the ball, which pushes the club inside. See that? Let me back that up right there. So the shoulders stop turning and now the wrists are moving the club back. I don't like that. There's disconnect there. If I look at it from arms in connection with the club, you look at it right here, right? Nope. You got this, pretty connected there. A little strong grip. That's why there's a little disconnect. I think that's doing some of this. But as you take it back, still okay to there, and then here, boom. Look at this. I'd like to see that club kind of here, and let the shoulders keep making the turn back. But instead, now you've got the club coming this way. And that's just because of this arrow that I have pointed here. The wrist pushing towards the ball, right? And the club coming inside, well inside that path. But I don't mind where the club is. I just don't like where the hands are going in relation to the club. And I think that's a lot of why we get this kind of looped move at the top. So if we keep going, see how flat that is? And the shoulders haven't really made much of a turn at this point. Okay, get it to a fairly good position. Not a lot of turn there. It's a pretty tight swing. But also because of this pushed in wrist, that club is right on plane, but look at the face. I think if you were to get that shoulder turn keep going at the takeaway and everything, so if we go back to here, if the shoulders kept turning with the club connected, so right here, basically, sorry, pause that. What we would see is arms, club connected, and then we would go like a few more frames. Arms would be like here, and the club would be connected, and then the club would start to come up. But see, you get this disconnect. Whoop. I don't like that. I know we haven't really ever talked about that move in your golf swing. We've been so focused on downswing. But anyway, that goes that way. And I think if you were to see a little more of that connection from here to here, from here to here, I think then at the top you would see the club face. Let's zoom in on it a little bit. You would see the club face more like this, not as shut. And I think you would see the club also maybe a little bit more here, which I don't know if that's, I like where the club is. It gets to there. I think you would see it more. I thought we were at the top of your swing. Hold on. Basically, I think you would see the club kind of get more here with a club face more like this, rather than one that is pointing straight up at the sky like you see it there. So I think that takeaway move creates such a loop from, we've always talked about from here to here with your loop, whereas I think a lot of that loop is being created here to there. It's a lot of from, golly, this is so annoying, this app. It's a lot of from when you take the club from here to the top. That club should be traveling along that path, but instead, so if we back it up, let's go undo, undo. Let's get rid of those circles. So you kind of know from the first foot and a half of takeaway to the top of the swing. I think that's where most of your loop happens. That red line is where we'd like to see the club head traveling. Your club head goes along inside that line, but I'd still like it to kind of climb that line. But instead, yours goes whoop. So it kind of goes here to there. Way inside, then kind of across. And that's what causes that move downward. And then it gets to here, and then that causes your arms to get away from you a little bit, or your lead arm, I should say. Club head gets outside the path. So if you're working with today, yesterday, and recent days, you've been working with a closed club face, like this one. And so your miss has been left of your target, pull, or a big draw when you rotate the face through at impact, like this one. Even though that was thin, I mean, that's actually pretty good through impact. But if you can get the approach coming instead of this way back there, right? If instead of that you could get it coming here to there, right? More this one plane. I think your improper plane, so to speak, is caused from a takeaway issue. I didn't really see this till today. But what happens if you get this closed club face, like you have at the top here, you see it, now you start hitting your pulls and your big draws. But if you get to a point, which I know you have in the past, which is, I'm going to hit nothing but cuts, so you start trying to open up the club face a lot. Now you have this steep path with an open club face, and now you get the big block rights. Remember that a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago or so? You were hitting everything way right. And then if you get it somewhat on plane, or where we want it, it gets a little flippy. And I think you get kind of a two-way miss there. And so you have a good pair of hands, and you have a lot of good going on in the swing. So there's a lot of times when you'll be swinging like this, like you were today, and you'll kind of open the club face coming down, almost like a Graham McDowell move. That's what he does. He kind of shuts the face at the top and then scoops it underneath and kind of holds off the finish to get it on line. And you had a few of those today I watched on the range. You were aimed right where you wanted to be, but you were missing left. And I was going, your swing isn't as jacked up as you think. But what happens is you kind of hold off and scoop it with a closed club face, and the ball gets on line. You go, see, that one was good. And I'm going, well, yeah, the result was swing wasn't where we wanted it. Sorry, taking a sip of my red wine here. I just think so much of your loop from the top to the downswing, I mean, look how vertical that shaft is. I think so much of that is caused from here. This is really the last point where your shoulders, arms, hands, and club stay connected. Right here, from right here, connected, nope, start to roll inside. You can think of it, as I said, with the hands pushing that way towards the ball, right, coming out that way. Or you can think of it, watch your right wrist. I'm going to back this up a minute here, or a second. Watch your right wrist. Right wrist kind of stays on top, on top, on top, on top. Still somewhat, doop, rolls wide open. And then you get to halfway in your swing, maybe 60% of your swing, you could hold a tray with your hand. You hold a tray there. Okay. Face is wide open at this point, which is crazy that you go from wide open, but because then you loop it, now it's completely shut. That's some of your strong grip though at address. You have a strong grip at address. You do. But that's a lot of what's happening here. So I think more so than anything for you, and again, this was bothering me for ever since we started working together. It's bothered me why we can't get rid of this loop move, because I've worked so hard in your swing from this point to this point. I've worked so hard in this time frame of your golf swing and not realizing kind of how we got there. I mean, look how high that arm is. Your left arm, that is. Oh, man. That is a two-plane backswing right there. And then you swing it straight steep. It's like in between a one and two plane. One would be like right under the shoulders. I'll show you mine in a minute. But two plane would be a little higher, maybe a little more separation with the right shoulder. But I think so much of this is caused because of the backswing, and I just never thought about that. It's crazy to me. Never thought about it. So frustrating to me that we've worked so hard at this. But what's great about this is this little move that we've worked so hard on, where you feel like you drop it in. I think if we get the backswing where it's not so inside loopy to the top, right? I think when we get you traveling on this path right there, right? It is going to be so easy for you to then drop it right back on that in a one-plane fashion. Oh, I think it's going to be butter. Alright, I want to show you my swing now. Hold on one sec. Hold on. Still figuring out this app.